I first heard about Engage through Garland Jones. We grew up together. He's like my brother from another mother. And there was an event that Pastor Doug was honoring. They were doing like a Super Sammy event. And so that's how I heard about it. I came to that particular service. So it's probably been roughly about 2 years that I've been faithfully going to Engage.
We actually lived on the same block as the church. So we lived on Chippington, which is right on the other side of Wayne, and we were transitioning to look for a new church, and so we used to go on walks all the time, and we just remember seeing the van being pulled in and out of there, and so we thought we would give it a try. And we'd heard really good things too, because of like the city Easter egg hunt and things like that, and so everything we'd heard has been great.
Yeah, so the first time I heard about Engage, I was actually serving on staff at another church in the area. And we kept hearing about Engage and how they were doing some phenomenal things for the community. Their outreach was just amazing. And that was something as a church we were trying to do. We did a lot of things regarding Bible study, and that seemed to go really well, but we had a lot of trouble with our outreach. And after hearing some of the things that they did, it was just very encouraging to see churches going out and reaching our community.
I think what I really liked when I first came, and what I continue to really like, is just how caring and genuine the people were when you first walked in. I've been to other churches and I didn't get that warm and fuzzy feeling right away, and I feel that as soon as you walk into Engage City Church. And I also just like how much value is placed on really interacting with people as they come into the church, saying hello and just smiling and just really, making people feel welcome, and how much Pastor Doug really wants to give back to the city and just engage the city.
I like the diversity too.
Yes.
That was a huge draw, because I've been raised in Huber Heights, and I just always loved the diversity of Wayne, and so we wanted to make sure we have our kids in Huber Heights City Schools. And walking into Engage the very first time, I remember looking around and just thinking, everyone looks different, and I know a lot of these people, and they all come from completely different backgrounds, but we were all there for one purpose. And it was just, I just remember us walking out. It was the first church we visited when we were looking for churches, and it was the last church we visited, because there was just something, it just felt like home immediately.
I serve on the VIP and City Kids team.
We are on the welcome team that holds the signs out by the road, and we also do City Kids. There
was an announcement made at church one day, and there was a need, so I just was like, I'll volunteer and help out.
You've probably heard of the old adage, 10% of the church members do 90% of the work. And I was on staff for 5 years, and we were really involved, and we definitely felt that way. So when we're transitioning churches, we were a little burned out. At the same time, we knew we just needed a little bit of rest, but immediately we wanted to hop in. Service for us is something we've done, and you could probably share the things that you've done, but I think even in high school, I was helping out with my local church, and then, through college, through all of that. So it's something that we deem very appropriate, very important. And, you think of the Epistle to the Hebrews, whoever wrote it, you see a lot of one another passages that we need to stir one another to good works, and we really need to be involved in the church, not just sort of hanging out and just receiving. We also need to give.
And I remember Doug, I think, was giving a sermon one time, and it might have been one of those Sundays where we were kind of talking about serving and what it looks like to serve within the body, but also in our community. And we had been coming here only a couple of months, and it was right before COVID hit, and we signed up, and I think we only got to serve for maybe 1 month holding the signs outside. But like he said, we've both been raised in church, and we've been serving in churches since I was probably in high school, and it's just such an important part to really feeling you're part of the community. You're not just a bench warmer, you're not just there to get, but giving. It's just like Christmas, getting is nice, but giving, there's just a whole other level of fulfillment there.
Personally, I just enjoy helping people. So I like being able, especially on the VIP, I like being able to see the smile on people's faces when they first walk in, and just making them feel welcome, because you don't know what they're dealing with, what they've dealt with for that week. So it's nice to be able to put the smile on their face when they first come in, when they may be feeling a little nervous about coming to church. And then just with the kids, I just like working with the kids because they're just so much fun.
I think there's this misnomer about how you have to be absolutely perfect in everything when you serve. Like, I think if you have a desire to do it and you feel like God has called you to do it, you just sort of step in and do it. It's a little fearful sometimes, but I think God has not given us a spirit of fear. So it's one of those things, you can either let your fear control you or you can just do it. So yeah, and I've enjoyed being with the younger kids. It's not always easy, but I feel like I'm learning and growing, and it's cool to build relationships with them.
I think if someone was nervous or afraid, I think they need to just do it. You know, you hear that saying, just do it when you're afraid. And especially if God is calling you to serve in a particular area or do something, you're supposed to. So I think regardless, and I made a note here, I think there's no need to worry about if you're going to be good enough. You are a child of God, so you're already good enough. Go into it with an open mind and heart and just have fun. Serving is the last place you need to worry about not getting it right or doing something wrong. When you're helping someone, it makes you feel good, so it's all good.
I remember hearing in high school that God doesn't call the equipped, but he equips the called. And I really took that to heart throughout. I've taken it to heart for the last 20 years, knowing that I'm not going to be the best at pretty much anything I do, but that God just wants us to serve, and he wants us to serve where the need is. And so I think the biggest thing is not thinking about our own deficiencies, but maybe just looking at how God is more than enough to provide what we need, even within ourselves. And sometimes it just is a surprise what he can do within us that we didn't even know we were capable of, just to fill what he wants us to do within his body.
I think just knowing that, I put a smile on somebody's face and I made them feel welcome, considering they may have been dealing with something throughout the week. It just makes me feel good knowing that I did that. And it just helps me throughout the week, just knowing that I helped somebody else.
For me, when I know I'm serving, you don't always feel right. Feel like it sometimes. Sometimes you wake up Sunday morning and you're tired, but I do know I never regret it. So it sort of gives me the energy to get through the rest of my week.
When I'm thinking of getting frustrated, or I never know when I'm maybe even out with my kids, or if I'm even at the grocery store, somebody cuts me off, who's driving around me, which sounds silly, but just you don't know who's out there and who's watching. And when I know that I'm a role model for some of these kids, or maybe I'm the only Jesus some of these kids ever see, it keeps my mind focused throughout the week of I'm a face of Engage for some of these kids, and I want them to understand who Jesus is, and I don't want them to point back to that thing that I did outside of church.